On August 8, 2024, a strong earthquake measuring 7.1 on the Richter scale occurred in Miyazaki Prefecture and surrounding areas in southwestern Japan. The epicenter of the earthquake was about 30 kilometers deep underground, leading to tsunami warnings in several coastal provinces, such as Miyazaki, Kochi, Ehime, Oita, and Kagoshima. While earthquakes have been occurring more frequently with increasing intensity over the past few decades, concerns about a volcanic eruption on Mount Fuji have therefore grown larger, because this is not something that has never happened before. Indeed, a recent Indian astrologer has made the latest prediction that Japan may have to bear the consequences caused by its own recent actions. Mount Fuji will soon awaken and erupt, causing an unprecedented disaster. At the same time, an earthquake measuring 9.1 on the Richter scale will shake the island nation. Moreover, this disaster will last for about 8 months. Will this mountain, which has been dormant for 300 years, become active again? Because this is not something that has never happened before. Why are the Japanese people so worried? How terrible will the subsequent consequences? Is this nature's uprising against negative human activities? Please continue watching in today's video on the channel at World Army. The last eruption of Mount Fuji occurred in 1707, known as the Hoei Eruption. This is one of the most famous volcanic events in Japanese history, taking place during the Edo period. The event occurred on December 16, 1707, about 49 days after a strong earthquake struck the area. The Hoei eruption caused many serious consequences. One of the biggest consequences was the massive amount of volcanic ash ejected, covering a vast area including Edo City, which is Tokyo, about 100 kilometers from Mount Fuji. This disaster killed over 20,000 people, with many houses destroyed by magma and earthquakes. This eruption released 800 million cubic meters of ash and volcanic ash layer bigger than 4 centimeters, spreading across almost the entire country of Japan, completely paralyzing transportation and the national economy. Thick volcanic ash fell on fields and farming areas, damaging crops. This caused famines in many places because food sources were severely destroyed. Additionally, a large amount of volcanic ash in the air could cause temporary cooling in some areas, affecting weather and crops in the following years. Furthermore, volcanic ash also disrupted daily life, making movement, living, and trading difficult. Some people had to evacuate from severely affected areas. The Hoei eruption created a new crater on the eastern flank of Mount Fuji called the Hoei crater. This is clear evidence of the eruption and still exists to this day. Recently, Anan used his astrological abilities to make 6 prophecies about world fate in 2024. He asserted that 2024 would be a year when the world faces many challenges, many crises and disasters, requiring humans to join hands and cooperate. The Indian prodigy predicted that 2024 would be a year with many natural disasters, leading serious consequences affecting humans. Specifically, during the period from July to August 2024, very large disasters, possibly floods, fires, or air pollution will occur. Specifically, a coastal country will face volcanic eruption disaster, followed by earthquakes and tsunamis. This new prediction by prodigy makes many people bigger. People here feel extremely fearful, because more than 300 years ago, Mount Fuji was awakened by an earthquake. Moreover, earthquakes also caused strong seabed shaking. The impact of the disaster lasted for making later generations feel frightened just hearing that Mount Fuji might become active again. Although it has been dormant for hundreds of years, this is still an active volcano. It could erupt at any time. Current urban development, with Japan's population density, has far exceeded that of 300 years ago. If Mount Fuji unexpectedly awakens, it will certainly cause greater damage to this country. Not only prophets, but since 2012, Japanese scientists have also predicted that Mount Fuji would erupt again. Because during this period, geological, even higher than when this mountain last erupted over 300 years ago. The National Research Institute for Earth Science and Disaster Prevention recently warned the magnitude 9 earthquake in 2011 that occurred off Japan's ocean, combined with an aftershock 4 days ago, has created tremendous pressure on the volcano. This pressure is very likely to cause the volcano to erupt again. Scientists also revealed that the current pressure on the mountain is 1.6 megapascals, 16 times higher than the normal level. This is a frightening number, Kyodo News commented. In 2004, the Japanese government predicted that an eruption at Mount Fuji would affect over 400,000 people in the Tokyo area and cause material damage of up to 31.25. Additionally, volcanic ash can travel more than 100 kilometers, enough to reach Tokyo, potentially paralyzing the city for months, the government said. Even in March 2023, Japan's Mount Fuji Disaster Management Council stated that for the first time in 9 years, the agency had just adjusted the evacuation plan in case this highest mountain in Japan erupts. According to the new plan, residents living in areas where lava flows could reach must evacuate on foot within 24 hours to avoid traffic congestion. However, residents can use transportation if they voluntarily evacuate before the volcano erupts. The council includes central government agencies, along with 3 prefectures: Yamanashi, Shizuoka, and Kanagawa, has adjusted the evacuation plan based on Mount Fuji's new disaster prediction. For residents living near the crater and surrounding areas, where lava would take more than 24 hours to reach, they are recommended to use transportation for evacuation. Notably, those needing assistance, including the elderly and disabled, are allowed to use transportation for evacuation, regardless of which area they live in. When signs of an eruption appear, cities will call for early voluntary evacuation for those with residences far from the mountain. For Mount Fuji climbers, city authorities will guide them home by bus or on foot after notification. It's possible that the Japan Meteorological Agency will raise the volcanic warning to level 3 in the file. Residents in cities predicted to be affected by large amounts of ash and lava flows are required to evacuate before the volcano erupts, as finding shelter after the disaster occurs is impossible. The council announced, "We prioritize safe evacuation while paying attention to the continuity of economic and social activities." The council also noted that volcanic-related disasters are very unpredictable. Are these terrible natural disasters punishment lessons that Mother Nature sends to us? Don't forget what Japan has done to this originally beautiful living environment. In August 2023, Japan officially began discharging approximately 39,000 tons of treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific, after more than a decade since the nuclear disaster occurred. This decision was made by the Japanese government and Tokyo Electric Power Company, abbreviated as, to address the problem of storing over 1 million tons of radioactive water at the plant. Although the wastewater has been treated with the ALT system to remove most radioactive substances except tritium, this decision still caused much controversy and received strong reactions from the international community as well as domestic. The most intense reactions likely come from China and South Korea, while China imposed a ban on importing seafood from Japan, expressing concerns that this wastewater would pollute the marine environment and affect food safety. As for South Korea, while acknowledging that this discharge process might be safe according to international standards, still witnessed many protests and concerns from its citizens. In addition, environmental and non-governmental organizations have criticized Japan for not seeking safer alternatives. At the same time, they are concerned that the discharge can have unpredictable long-term consequences for the marine ecosystem. Even within Japan, the public is divided into 2 opinions regarding this decision. Some people support the discharge as a necessary measure to address the issue, while many others worry about the negative impacts on Japan's fisheries and international reputation. This incident has severely affected Japan's fisheries industry. Fishermen fear that consumers will avoid buying seafood from the waters near Fukushima, leading to a decline in revenue. The Japanese government has implemented economic support measures for the industry, but it still cannot completely eliminate. The consequences of the discharge are not limited to environmental, but also affect diplomatic relations between Japan and its neighboring countries. Although Japan has received approval from the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, and committed to complying with safety standards, Suspicion and tensions among countries in the region continue to rise. In the future, the world will continue to monitor the impacts of this discharge, and it may become an important topic in international environmental forums, as well as in international relations among Southeast Asian countries. Perhaps you still haven't fully grasped the danger of this large-scale discharge. Although the wastewater has been treated to remove most radioactive substances, tritium remains and is discharged into the sea. Tritium, a radioactive isotope of hydrogen, can be absorbed by marine organisms and accumulate in our bodies over time. This is particularly dangerous for organisms high in the food chain, such as large fish, marine mammals, and humans when consuming contaminated seafood. The accumulation of tritium and other radioactive substances in marine organisms can lead to changes in their behavior, reproduction, and development. These changes can disrupt the marine ecosystem, causing a decline in the number and diversity of species. Species sensitive to the environment or living near the discharge may face the risk of severe decline or even extinction. In fact, discharges causing serious consequences have not only occurred in recent years. In 1932, Shizo, a chemical company in Minamata City, Kumamoto Prefecture, directly discharged mercury containing water into the bay and sea around the village, where about 10,000 residents lived. Mercury is a toxic substance that, if accumulated in seawater, enters the marine food chain. Fish and other marine animals contaminated with mercury were consumed by humans and leading to a series of severe illnesses. It is said to be the most terrifying strange disease in Japanese history. Cats were the first to show symptoms of this poisoning. They began exhibiting strange behaviors, such as loss of motor control, convulsions, and mass deaths. Dancing cat disease. Later, residents of Minamata also began showing similar symptoms, including paralysis, nerve damage, and impaired mobility. Later, in 1956, the strange disease was officially recognized as Minamata disease, when a large number of people developed severe symptoms, including loss of speech, walking ability, and in many cases, leading to death. Subsequent research confirmed that mercury in fish and marine animals was the main cause of the disease. This action affected thousands of people, with hundreds dying from Minamata disease. This event served as a warning about the severe consequences of industrial pollution, leading to important reforms in environmental laws and management in Japan and worldwide. The Japanese government and Shizo Company later had to compensate the victims. Although this process still faces many difficulties and controversy, the Minamata disaster highlights the importance of controlling industrial waste and protecting the environment, as well as ensuring public health against the potential impacts of industrial pollution. This is one of the typical examples of how humans can cause serious damage to the environment, and themselves by not complying with safety regulations. Isn't this a warning from nature to us humans? After hundreds of years, we are now suffering from extremely terrible consequences, and perhaps things haven't stopped there yet. A few hours after a 7.1 magnitude earthquake shook southwestern Japan in the afternoon, the Japan Meteorological Agency, abbreviated as JMA, issued a warning about an above-normal risk of a megaquake around the Nankai Trough, an undersea trench right along the. This was the first time they issued such a warning. The Japanese government estimates a 70 to 80% chance of an 8 to 9 magnitude megaquake along the Nankai Trough within the next 30 years. In the worst-case scenario, the megaquake could shake a vast area from Kanto to Kyushu, causing tsunamis that would submerge coastal areas from Kanto to Okinawa. The death toll could reach 323,000 people. Naoshi Harada, head of JMA's advisory committee, said the probability of a megaquake has now increased several times. JMA's warning does not recommend evacuation, but reminds people to remain vigilant for about a week. Unable to precisely predict which areas need to prepare responses, but all must be cautious of any possible situations, Mr. Harada said. The approximately 800 kilometers long Nankai Trough is where the Eurasian and Philippine tectonic plates meet. Major earthquakes occur in the Nankai Trough about every 150 years, but the exact timing cannot be predicted. Historically, earthquakes in this undersea trench have caused severe damage. The most recent one was on December 21, 1946. Causing a large tsunami that killed 1,330 people. JMA established a warning mechanism related to potential megaquakes in the Nankai Trough since 2017. This mechanism is triggered when strong tremors of magnitude 6.8 or higher occur in areas at risk of megaquakes, or when there is unusual geological movement. Japan is one of the countries with the strongest seismic activity in the world. 4 of the major tectonic plates that make up the Earth's surface are located in Japan. Earthquakes frequently occur at the faults between tectonic plates. The island nation also lies on a ring of fire, a chain of volcanoes and seismic activity points around the Pacific Rim, causing Japan to experience about 18% of the world's annual earthquakes. And that is also one of the causes leading to volcanic eruptions. Regardless, the eruption of Mount Fuji in Japan is indeed an event with a very high probability of occurrence. Some geology experts have said that eruptions of this mountain occur regularly with a 300-year cycle. Coincidentally, the current time is at the end of this cycle. If Japan's earthquake frequency continues to increase at magnitude 6 or higher, then Mount Fuji will certainly be awakened. Without a doubt, an unimaginable disaster will occur right before our eyes. The first lava flow erupting will bury the surrounding industrial cities, affecting railway lines and airports. Volcanic ash rising high will cover the entire sky of Tokyo and neighboring cities. Millions of people will be affected by electricity and water supply. Gas will be cut off, making life difficult. Subsequent earthquakes and tsunamis will occur, followed by epidemics. At the very least, it would cause Japan an estimated loss of up to 25 billion. The Prodigy and NAD predicted that when Mount Fuji erupts, it will be accompanied by a 9.1 magnitude earthquake, along with storms and tsunamis also striking. This disaster would last for 8 months, with estimated damages reaching $25 billion. The extent of that damage is not much different from an apocalyptic scenario. At that time, Japan would become just a flat land. Not only coastal cities but also central cities would be submerged. Not only Japan, Vietnam is also one of the countries that has experienced many earthquakes in recent years, although not located in a high-frequency area. Recently, Con Tum province has witnessed a series of consecutive earthquakes, mainly concentrated in Con Pong. This is an unusual phenomenon, as Con Tum was not previously an area with frequent earthquakes. In early 2022, earthquakes began to be recorded from April and continued for many years. They had magnitudes from 2.5 to 4.7 on the Richter scale. At times, Kon Plong district recorded many small consecutive earthquakes. The shaking was mainly felt in Kon Plong and surrounding areas. However, due to the intensity not being too great, these earthquakes did not cause serious damage to people and property. This shaking was not only clearly felt in Kon Plong but also spread to neighboring areas, including Kon Tum City. This series of earthquakes has raised concerns among the people, especially regarding the safety of buildings and hydroelectric dams in the area. Notably, on August 8th, 5 earthquakes occurred in Kon Plong district, Kon Tum, with one measuring 4.2 magnitude, causing residents in Quang Nong and Da Nong to also feel the shaking. Many people shared on Facebook that they also felt the earthquake, with shaking occurring in these localities. Who knows what other natural disasters await us in the future? Is it true as the Anim prophet prodigy predicted? Currently, in this year 2024. Thank you for watching the entire video. Goodbye and see you in the next video.